It's just puzzling. You know, one cannot help to think that this whole thing was possibly a setup, staged.
You think it was?
I don't have a body.
She was the first person that you met in the office, and everybody knew Holly.
And remember, the friend came over, found the purse on the counter, found the cell phone charging by the bed.
She was about to leave.
Right, yeah. Her husband got a job in Albuquerque.
We do know her car was gone.
That's right.
Her keys were gone, and Holly was gone. Some people think she may have jumped. The difference between her story and so many others is they recovered their body.
During one of the searches, they had about 47 people searching, helicopters, drones, dogs. It's not adding up, you know.
There were very intimate back and forth.
With other people, other than her husband?
Yes.
With Colorado plates, maybe a little bit of like primer maybe on the left-hand side.
Had you ever seen that car before?
No, never.
What do you think happened to Holly?
I think one of the guys didn't like that she was leaving.
But if it was staged, there's only DNA of 2 people on that vehicle.
Hey everyone, I'm Crystal. I was a TV news reporter and anchor for more than 15 years, covering stories of remarkable people, tragedies that turned into heartbreak, and stories that are now part of history. But there are some stories that just stick with you.
How many missing persons cases do you believe you have?
Every year, tens of thousands of people are listed as missing. So I called in the expertise of my longtime friend, retired detective, now private investigator Lewis.
No, I don't believe that. I really don't believe that. There's no evidence behind that. You know.
Together, we're diving into cases that sit untouched for years.
Like maybe they missed something. I feel they focused too much on him.
I think so.
And it may not have been him the whole time.
And hitting the road.
All right, you ready? Farmington, here we come.
Along the way, we'll talk to those left behind.
She was wonderful. She was my older sister.
Something feels missing.
Just want her home.
Something's not right.
And to those who were part of the investigation.
I mean, the same dog found burnt remains.
All in hopes of uncovering new details.
He has never been interviewed by police.
That's the person that I think did it.
To give families some closure as we go beyond the case.
Deep breath in again.
In 3, 2. Hey everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Case. I'm Crystal.
Hello everyone, I'm Lewis.
In this week's episode, we're diving into a really bizarre missing persons case out of Taos, New Mexico. Is this a real-life gone girl story? Holly White went missing back in May 6th of 2016. She hasn't been seen since.
That's right, Crystal. This 7-year-old case came into light for law enforcement when Holly did not show up to a scheduled meeting with one of her friends, leaving a lot of clues behind.
Including her car that was found at the Taos Gorge Bridge. What's interesting about that fact is that bridge is very famous for people who drive there from across the country and then jump. This case, though, may not be that simple.
We have uncovered a lot of different theories and a lot of different clues that might take us in other directions with this. For example, when the friend went to the house to check on Holly, she discovered Holly's cell phone, her purse, and most importantly, the dog was left behind.
And then she takes off in her car to the gorge. That sounds very bizarre.
So we're going to talk about the victimology here on this case, Crystal. For example, the facts of the case that we know. We know that Holly was not a known drug user. We know that she was not homeless. We're talking about a woman that had what her friends and family consider to be a normal life.
Yeah, she was really just like your neighbor next door. What's interesting about that is that she was right in the middle of a move to Albuquerque, New Mexico. We've heard conflicting stories, though. Some friends say she was excited to leave. Others say not so much.
That's right, Crystal. Holly had a lot of secrets.
What's interesting, though, is her family and her friends had no idea about this secret life until after she disappeared, after they uncovered text messages and emails. Another strange incident that happened was a neighbor noticing a bizarre car that he had never seen before just days before her disappearance. So it's really interesting that her story would end this way, or did it come to an end?
This case is going to take us along to several cities here in New Mexico to interview people involved in this case,
including a private investigator who's been on this case from the beginning. We're going to hear what she has to say about all this, so pack on up because we're heading into Taos.
Take me back to the nights we felt alive, picking up the pieces on a summer night. I didn't know that I would feel just like my heart's on fire whenever I'm with you.
Okay, so we are going to go talk with Susan Nuss.
She's one of Holly's friends.
You know, they were supposed to celebrate her departure from her employer, and she just didn't show up. You know, law enforcement did the right thing immediately on this case. They responded, they conducted interviews, they took matters into evidence, you know, the car, the cell phone, the laptop. They photographed everything from the beginning, and as they're doing the investigation, they're uncovering more and more interesting facts of this case.
And Susan is one of the individuals that they interviewed.
Right. I think we're coming up on it on the right-hand side.
Right, here we go.
Well, yeah, let's see what Susan
Take me back to
Susan, hi, I'm Crystal.
I'm Susan Nuss, and I was hired to do her job when she was getting ready to leave Taos Center for the Arts.
I'm missing all the things I wish we did. All I know is that I need somebody like you.
How long did you know her before you were hired?
I knew her for years, I want to say, starting at least in 2005, because she worked at the TCA and I did performances there. Everybody knew Holly. She had been around for a long, long time at the TCA.
How would you describe her?
Very warm. That's the first word that comes to mind. Beautiful, bright blue eyes that would look right at you. An excellent listener. Sense of humor, but not over the top. I think everybody who met Holly felt like she cared about them. I was supposed to be trained for 2 weeks. So we started on a Monday, that was May 2nd, and she disappeared somewhere between the 5th and the 6th. On that Thursday, it was just Holly and I, and things had settled down, and we had some time to just talk.
How was Holly? Was she happy? Was she sad? Was she confused?
She had told me that she was overwhelmed. In fact, she had said she hadn't been able to eat and she was having a hard time sleeping. And we talked about a lot of things. We had both recently lost our mothers. That was something that we had in common. And we talked about our partners too, and talked about kids. And she asked me if I ever wanted kids, and I said no. Did you? And she said, yeah, I really did. And we tried to have them, but we couldn't. So I went to the doctor and got checked out, and I was fine. And then it was his turn to get checked out, and he never did.
And this was her husband, Jeff, right?
Yes, yeah. And she said that was painful for her for a while.
It just seemed like there was a lot happening in her life at that time.
Absolutely, absolutely. The weekend before, she and her husband Jeff had gone to Albuquerque, had taken a couple of loads, and then she had to come back. She was responsible for getting all of the repairs in the house done for the new owners. She was responsible for continuing to pack everything, plus training me for those 2 weeks, handing over a job that only she had done for more than 10 years. And she loved this job. This was her identity. And I think the reality of that was hitting her.
Tell me about the last day. You had told police that there was a series of phone calls that kept coming in to Holly.
Yeah, there were. And there was a lot of texting too.
Did she seem bothered by the calls and the text messages?
I think frustrated because there were so many, especially towards the end of the day. Yeah, and there were those deep sighs.
Did she ever make mention as to what maybe the topic was or what that person was wanting?
No, not that I recall, no.
That was part of her life that she didn't really want to share with you that day, even though she shared a lot.
Right. That was what we found out after she went missing.
She had spoken with her friend that, they were going to go for a walk early that morning, and she just didn't show up.
Since she didn't show up, that friend went to her house to go look for her.
Yes.
Her purse was still there.
Cell phone?
Some other items, that they know she would have taken with
Right.
her.
The dog was there?
Right. Her car was gone, though. They did know that.
I got out of the shower that morning and was getting ready and noticed that there had been a call and then a message left from a mutual friend, both of mine and Holly's. And she said Holly and I were supposed to meet to go for a walk, and she didn't show up. She asked me if I had heard from Holly, and I said no. So she said, could you call her husband Jeff?
Okay, so who was the friend that first called you?
It was a person she was training at the TCA. She was looking for Holly because she was supposed to be at work to train her. And then when Cynthia called, and she told me she didn't show up for walking, then she went over to her house, got the spare keys to our house, and opening up, our dog was there. Her phone was going, her cell phone was going off on the side of her bed. She used that for an alarm. And when she told me that, I just jumped in the car and left and came to Taos.
Okay.
I mean, I was planning to come in, at noon, but I was there about 10.
Well, here's the house on the left-hand side.
So this is the last place that Holly was seen, was at her home. Some neighbors spoke to police and mentioned that they would often see her and, just say hi, and that she was very friendly. This is the last connection that anybody knows of where Holly was for sure. Even though her car ended up at the gorge, this is the last place she was actually seen.
I have their keys and they had my keys to the house, and went to the house and her car wasn't there.
About what time was this?
This was probably like 7:40 a.m. I did stick the key in the deadbolt and it was not locked. And I stuck the key in the doorknob, and when I turned the key, it opened the door. And Rosie was there, and of course she was all excited. Well, she barked when I was first trying the door, and
she was inside the house?
Yeah, she was inside the house. As I pulled up, I saw her car wasn't there. I called Susan. I said, were y'all meeting this morning? And she forgot to tell me. And she's like, no. So I was on the phone with her when I went in, and I went in the kitchen, and there was her purse. And Holly would, I would tease her because she would bring her purse to the park. And I go, why do you bring your purse to the park? Well, what if you get pulled over? And she always had it with her. And so for her purse to be there and her car not to be there, I was like, that's really weird. And I called Holly and I heard the phone. And it was in her bedroom on the floor, still plugged in. And I saw missed calls, which were me, and texts. And so I called Jeff at work and said, have you talked to Holly today? And he said, no, I talked to her last night. Everything was fine. And I called the hospitals, the hospital and the urgent care. And then I called Jeff and I said, did you call the police or do you want me to? And he said, would you? So I called the police.
What police department did you call?
I called 911. Deborah called Holly's boss and said that her husband had gone out to the gorge and found her car.
She would not have left all of these items here and have just left. We do know her car was gone.
That's right.
Her keys were gone, and Holly was gone.
Would she usually leave her phone charging or plugged in that area? Or
no.
Where would she usually keep it?
What's so weird about it? She keeps it on her chest of drawers, so she has to actually get up to turn it off.
And where was it that they explained to you that it was at?
Right on the side where she was sleeping, right on the floor.
Okay.
And she never keeps her phone there. Her purse was sprawled on the table, and she never does that. It's always on the chair, and the chair is pushed in.
So it makes you wonder, did she leave the house freely? We don't know that. There wasn't any forced entry.
And there would have been signs when law enforcement got here. They documented it well, that there was no signs of any struggles. There's nothing that was overturned in the residence. This is Crystal.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Crystal Gutierrez, nice to meet you. We know that you spoke with police about some stuff that you saw.
Yeah.
Was it the morning, the day before?
It was probably a day or so before. My name's Steve Pacheco. I knew Holly. We were neighbors for, I'm not sure how many years, maybe 10 years.
And you knew her husband Jeff as well, right?
Yes. They were quiet neighbors. They were good. I know, we'd see each other in the morning, say hello, good morning. We'd tease a little bit. I would with Holly because she was a Denver fan. I'm a Raider fan, so.
We know that Jeff didn't live here prior to Holly disappearing. He was living in Albuquerque and would come visit. Would you see him visit often?
Yeah, I would see him come down and stuff where they're getting ready to move, and that's when I saw the U-Haul and stuff, and Jeff and his partner were moving stuff in and out of the truck, and then that's when I noticed a black Solera with Colorado plates. Didn't think nothing of it. I thought maybe just somebody here to help him move. And
tell me when you saw that car. What day was that?
Might have been the day before, a couple of days before she went missing. And it was like in the morning because I'd go to work. I was working with the town at that time. So I'd go to work about 7. I'd see her. She's getting ready, I guess, to go on her walk. And she worked for the town as well. So I would see her at Kit Carson Park area. And it was maybe a day or two before.
And Jeff had not been there that day, right?
I don't recall him being there, no. I think it was one of her and her lady friends because I remember they were moving stuff out together, her and their lady friend, and I made them breakfast. I was making breakfast, so I kind of made them a Egg McMuffin sandwich for the both of them, since I was making for us. And that's like I'd say I noticed it. It was black Solera with Colorado plates, maybe a little bit of like primer maybe on the left-hand side.
Had you ever seen that car before?
No, never.
That was the
never
first time?
Yeah.
Wow, what did you think when you saw it?
Nothing of it, because I knew they were going to be moving away. You know, I know they were moving because they had a yard sale and stuff, and that's just it. I knew they were moving away. And she had her dog. She'd always go with her dog. So.
When did you first hear that she was missing?
Might have been that evening or the same day, next day, or something like that. Couple of days gone by and stuff when they said she was missing, because I hadn't seen her and didn't see her vehicle either, so it didn't really dawn what was going on till said she was missing.
Did you ever notice if, when you saw that vehicle there, did Holly approach the car? Did she get in the car?
No, I never saw anybody coming in and out of it.
Can you show me like where it was parked? Was it in the driveway?
No, like the U-Haul was parked there in the driveway in the gate, and it was kind of parked right here, kind of like facing that tree, just kind of in a little bit at an angle facing that tree. They had the fence up and everything, but it was just right here on the outside, just kind of pointed that way towards the tree, towards the fence.
And Jeff wasn't here at that time?
Not at that time.
I know you were getting ready to say goodbye because they're going to move to Albuquerque, but this isn't the ending you were expecting.
No, not at all.
If it were somebody from Taos, I think it would have been exposed already who it was.
Yeah, it's very peculiar, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's something for the board that we should look into.
Now let's onto the gorge.
Yes, let's go see where we know that law enforcement found her car.
What police department did you call?
I called 911. Deborah called Holly's boss and said that her husband had gone out to the gorge and found her car.
All right, so it would take about 20 minutes to get to the gorge from Holly's house.
And you have to drive through town, a lot of stoplights, a lot of traffic. It's gonna take some processing for you to get to the gorge.
Okay, so here we are.
Rio Grande Gorge Bridge.
So one of the theories is that she jumped from the bridge.
Yes.
And now driving over it, it makes you realize how high this bridge is.
It is steep. It really is steep.
There's a lot of people that come here just to visit, take pictures, but we also know that there are a lot of stories of people who do jump.
Yeah. If you remember, Susan shared with us that the Rio Grande was flowing pretty heavy back in May. And that would mean that she would have to walk to the middle of the bridge.
And that would be the only way that it would be likely her body wouldn't be recovered.
That's right.
So let's go look at the middle of that bridge.
All right, let's go.
So as we've been saying, if she were to have jumped, it would have had to be right here in the center of the bridge.
That's right. This little area is directly over the Rio Grande. That means that she would have to guessed it correctly, because if she would have jumped any other areas, there would have been some remnants of her body.
And if you look over, I would say a good 85% of the gorge is not water.
No. So it would have to be a good shot. And if you look downriver, right, if she did make it, there's jagged rocks that would have probably caught her. You know,
and that's likely why the recovery rate is so high. Right. We have heard of people that have done that. The difference between her story and so many others is they recovered their body.
That's the missing piece to this case. Where is Holly?
My name is Aaron Sven Rain. My mom worked with Holly, so my mom was a friend of Holly's, and I had met her a couple of times. I think when I found the shoe, I wasn't actually hired. My mom was upset, and I, had heard about the story, and then she knew that I was, running that section of river, and she She might have reached out to me to go look for Holly at first.
Let me refresh your memory. What we have from the documents on the case file is that you found the shoe about 4 days after Holly was reported missing.
There you go. Yeah. That sounds more accurate. Yeah, my mom, I wasn't hired. I was just asked to go look. And I found the shoe, and it was odd because you see a lot of debris, basketballs and garbage and things like that. And the water was brown, so it was running. There's a little bit of water in the river, maybe, as I said, 1,500 to 2,000 cubic feet. And the shoe was odd because it was relatively new, and everything you see you can almost kind of date by the exposure to the sun and the weather. And that shoe was in good shape, and I found that shoe, I'm guessing maybe, I'm in kilometers now, but I'm thinking probably 1.5 miles downstream of the Gorge Bridge. Floating in the water. It was in an eddy, which an eddy is a place where the water slows down on the bank of the river behind the rocks and things like that, create these eddies where the water can be quite fast out in the main current, but in the edges there's slow pockets.
Did it look like somebody could have thrown it in from that area where you found it?
Somebody could not have thrown it in and from that area, but somebody certainly could have thrown it in from the bridge. It was in the water. It had traveled down the river without a doubt. It was with all kinds of other material that had all been traveling down the river.
When you recovered the shoe, who did you bring it to?
I took it to the state police office. And right away they were like, they didn't want to take it. It was sort of odd. I was like, I don't want the shoe. They were like, you keep the shoe. I'm like, no, please take the shoe. I don't want the shoe.
Yeah, right. Why do you think that was?
I was really puzzled. I mean, I know it wasn't anything weird. I think it was just more, I think it was probably just more inexperienced people in the office at the moment more than anything, maybe. They didn't really know that maybe I had a real piece of evidence or something, and they just, maybe wanted to just give my number to a investigator and or something. I don't know.
Did they comment whether or not they were going to try to run any type of DNA evidence off of it?
Absolutely not. I was, I felt, really, I felt like I had something really important, and I went right to the police station, and they were just like, oh, thank you very much, kind of thing, and put it in a zip bag, and that was it.
That was it.
Yeah. So I never even heard from them again. Nothing. Not a question. Not even nothing. Not where did you find it? Nothing. Is it really her shoe? I mean, there was a photo at some point. Somebody showed me a photo, and there was a photo of Holly, and it looked very much like that shoe. I mean,
so state police never swabbed you for DNA for a comparison?
Nothing. No, I mean, I picked it up and handled it. I had to. There's a lot of, the boulders are jumbled and mixed up, and so there's logs, there's lots of diversion dams on the way down to Espanola, so there were a lot of places for, things to get hung up that were more accessible with low water.
The water that you mentioned right after Holly disappeared, how high and how fast was that water moving?
I'm guessing it was probably kind of like a below average snowpack year where the Rio Grande maybe peaked at maybe 1,500 cubic feet per second. But again, I'm just kind of going off what I remember.
Do you think a body could have floated down within a few days?
Yeah. I have another friend there in New Mexico that's done numerous. He's kind of the go-to recovery for the Gorge Bridge, and he helped me look for Holly as well. We had kind of almost done our own little bit of research as well, and there had been maybe no bodies that just vanished from the gorge.
There's always something that turns up, right?
Yeah.
And more than just a shoe.
More than just a shoe, yeah. There's been numerous drownings in the river and numerous jumps and numerous stuff that's happened there, and the bodies have always shown up. It's a very rocky, jumbly, bouldery river, and it's possible that a body just got, wedged down there deep and didn't come back up. We poked around and spent, numerous days looking, and no results.
As a body decomposes, though, do you think it would eventually loosen up or move downstream and surface somewhere else?
I do. I mean, yeah, I do. I think it's very rare, very odd that a body just doesn't show any sign.
Was the shoe hers? Do we know for sure?
No.
Do we know for sure that clump of hair belonged to her?
No. I mean, if it's cut, law enforcement themselves, and we're talking about, seasoned, well-learned investigators, crime scene investigators, saying that it appeared that it had either been cut with a scissors or knife.
If her hair had gotten caught on maybe a stick or a brush or something,
right,
it would have been a different outcome.
That's right. You would have been able to see, again, some follicles, maybe some skin, that was attached to it.
And we do know they did several searches here.
Yes.
Both around the edges.
Right.
To determine if there was any maybe clothing or anything they could indicate that she had jumped off the side.
That's right.
They've also searched the water with several rafting groups, and they even searched from the air.
That's right, using a helicopter and drones. And one of the searches, they had about 47 people searching, helicopters, drones, dogs. Okay, so they had this gorge covered.
Do you think she jumped?
Mostly, that's what I think.
It's not concrete for me as an investigator to say that's what happened to her.
There's so many missing pieces to this puzzle.
That's right.
I don't think she killed herself. I don't think she jumped off the bridge.
Did you ever hear that Holly had disappeared for a few days in her 20s? She had taken out loans prior to her disappearing, and she also had taken out money from her life insurance policy.
Did Holly ever mention any conversations or relationships she was having with somebody else other than her husband?
That was what we found out after she went missing.
How was their relationship? Was she happy in the relationship or the marriage?
I think that she wasn't like 100% happy with it.
We do know that she expressed to her friends that she did not want to move to Albuquerque.
That's right.
So Jeff has kept all of her stuff. Has he gotten rid of anything?
I know he shredded a lot of stuff.
Agreed to buy the house for the amount on May 19th, and the next day, on May 20th, Mr. Jeffrey White still, accepted the offer to sell the house.
Okay.
This is all while Holly's missing, right?
Right. Well, people are actually doing searches for her.
Yes.
But he took her off of everything, like the lighting bill and the gas and the electric and just everything. And he even shut down her phone.
But there were very intimate back and forths of sexual nature, photographs.
With other people other than her husband?
Yes. But one in particular went beyond.
After her 40th birthday, we always took a girls' trip, and we went to Colorado. And she told me about a guy that she had met, and she met him online, and they drove. She met him in Los Alamos.
Do you think there's any way that maybe a jealous lover or a jealous husband could have been upset after something was revealed?
I actually set that polygraph up. We did it in Albuquerque. The polygraph itself was pretty quick, but the polygraph examiner spent a couple of hours with Jeff.
What do you think happened to Holly?
I think one of the guys didn't like that she was leaving and went to see her, because you said, you heard that the neighbors said that there was a car there.
I think we should focus on this task next, to find the man that she was communicating with.
But if it was staged, there's only DNA of 2 people on that vehicle.